You are trying to replace her. Zach's final words to Caryn. Hello viewers, welcome back to my channel. For Roloff family latest news update, please subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon. For nearly 2 decades, TLC's Little People, Big World gave fans an intimate view of the Roloff family. We watched as Matt and Amy Roloff built a home and a farm in Oregon, raised their children, and tried to navigate life in the public eye. We also watched as the family changed, the divorce of Matt and Amy, the rise of the next generation, and the arrival of new partners including Caryn Chandler, Matt's longtime employee turned companion. But behind the upbeat Instagram posts and the seasonal pumpkin patch smiles, viewers sensed a different story brewing. In message boards and fan groups, whispers of tension and distance grew louder. The once tight family dynamic seemed to fray, especially between Zach Roloff, Amy, and Matt's son, and Caryn, who had become a fixture on the farm and, in the eyes of some fans, a stand-in for Amy's role. This article is a dramatized what-if look at how that tension might have reached a breaking point. It imagines a scenario in which Zach, feeling unheard and displaced, finally confronts Caryn. His words, "You are trying to replace her," echo the fears many adult children harbor when a parent remarries or begins a new long-term relationship. While the following pages draw from real personalities and public events, the scenes and conversations are fictionalized to explore the emotional realities behind the headlines. To understand the fictional confrontation, we have to rewind. Zach grew up on Roloff Farms, a place synonymous with family traditions, autumn festivals, and hard work. As the only son who stayed in Oregon and built his own family nearby, he was long seen by fans as the natural heir to the farm. Amy, his mother, was his anchor, a petite powerhouse whose warmth contrasted with Matt's high energy, big project personality. Caryn entered the picture first as an employee who helped run the pumpkin patch events. Over time, she and Matt developed a relationship, which became public not long after Matt and Amy finalized their divorce. For many viewers, that timeline was simply a fact of adult relationships. For Zach, in our imagined retelling, it may have felt like an intrusion. The woman who had once handed out wristbands at the farm now presiding over family dinners and property decisions. The real-world show depicted polite exchanges and a sometimes awkward blending of households. But in this dramatized narrative, those polite exchanges hide deeper frustrations. Zach watches as his mother, Amy, moves into a smaller house off the farm while Caryn takes on a more central role. Offers to buy part of the farm turn into public disputes. Invitations to family events feel more like obligations than celebrations. Slowly, resentment builds. In this imagined version of events, every holiday is a test. Thanksgiving dinners shift from Amy's kitchen to the big farmhouse where Caryn now sets the table. Traditions are subtly rewritten. A favorite recipe disappears from the menu. A family photo is reorganized to include new partners up front. No single incident is enough to trigger an explosion, but together they create a slow burn. Zach's wife, Tori, notices it too. In private, she and Zach talk about boundaries, about how much time to spend at the farm, about whether their children will even know the place as their grandparents' legacy or as a business run by strangers. On social media, they post cheerful pictures, but in this fictionalized telling, the captions are code for something else: nostalgia, loss, and the feeling of being crowded out. When people talk about the Roloff family, they almost always mention the farm. Roloff Farms wasn't just a business. It was a landmark, a playground, a meeting place, and a symbol of the family's collective dreams. For years, the show portrayed the farm as the heart of the Roloff identity. Viewers saw Matt sketching new projects on yellow legal pads while Amy cooked for the kids and wrangled volunteers for pumpkin season. It was hard work, but it was theirs. In reality, Matt and Amy's marriage had been under strain for a long time. When their divorce became final, it meant not just the end of a relationship, but the splintering of the farm's daily rhythms. In our dramatized retelling, this split hits Zach hardest. As the child who stayed closest, he carries a sense of responsibility and perhaps entitlement to the land where he grew up. In private moments, he pictures himself running the pumpkin patch with his own children by his side, just as his parents did with him. Enter Caryn. To many casual viewers, she is simply Matt's new partner. But to Zach in this story, she represents a subtle but profound shift. The person who now answers questions about farm schedules, who has a say in how things are done, who stands next to his father during decisions that once involved his mother. It's not about jealousy. It's about displacement. The family tree feels redrawn. The show hinted at farm buyout negotiations, but never aired all the private conversations. In our fictionalized scenario, those conversations are far more fraught. Zach makes an offer, Matt counters, Caryn weighs in, and the talks collapse. What was supposed to be a straightforward passing of the torch becomes a public disappointment. Fans online speculate about greed, betrayal, and hidden agendas. Zach, meanwhile, feels that a door has closed not just on a business deal, but on a legacy. Family gatherings become awkward. Where once there were easy jokes and warm hugs, now there is a kind of polite stiffness. When Caryn greets Zach's kids with presents, he wonders if she's trying too hard. When she suggests new ideas for the pumpkin patch, he hears an implicit critique of Amy's old ways. The tension isn't explosive yet, but it's everywhere, like static in the air before a storm. This dramatized version of events isn't meant to vilify anyone. Blended families are complicated. Children, even adult children, often feel protective of their parents, especially the parent perceived as the left-behind spouse. New partners bring new energy, new traditions, and sometimes new friction. In Zach's case, our story imagines a man torn between loyalty to his mother, love for his father, and frustration with a situation that feels out of his control. Caryn, for her part in this narrative, isn't scheming. She's trying to build a life with Matt, to contribute ideas, to help run the farm smoothly. But intent and impact aren't always the same. Her enthusiasm for making things better can land as criticism of the past. Her attempts to include everyone can feel like taking over. And because Matt is the one who ultimately owns the farm, it's Caryn's voice that Zach hears most often in decisions he disagrees with. By the time we reach the imagined confrontation, the moment Zach says, "You are trying to replace her," years of micro-hurts have piled up. Missed phone calls, invitations worded awkwardly, social media posts that seem to erase history. In private, Zach vents to Tori, who counsels patience but shares his unease. Amy, too, senses the strain but doesn't want to stir the pot. The family becomes a set of parallel lives, polite texts, occasional visits, and a widening emotional gap. In this hypothetical retelling, the stage is set. All it will take is one more misunderstanding, one more poorly timed comment, for everything to spill out. When it does, it won't just be about